Hey, it's Megan. So, these anti-trans people are going way too far. They've made bomb and death threats against, a children's hospital in Boston. And it's not just the United States. In Canada, in a high school in Oakville, the anti-trans are making bomb threats and death threats against a high school just because a transgender teacher had prosthetic boobs. What about all the cis women that have breast augmentation, fake breasts? It's actually more common than you think. It's not common, but it happens with cis women. But when it happens to a trans person having oversized boobs, then people have an issue with it. But these people are literally threatening high schools and threatening to overthrow the government. This is what fascists do. Wanting to overthrow a legally elected government and system. That's what fascists do. Overthrow a legally, elected system. What a bunch of fascists. Seriously, they're making death threats against teachers. They're making bomb threats against high schools. There's kids wanting to learn here. And these anti-trans are supposedly wanting to protect the children, but how are they protecting the children and making bomb threats against a school? They're disrupting kids actually learning. Even more than a distract. I totally get that teacher wearing oversized boobs would be kind of distracting for a student, but there's lots of distractions in school, and it gets to the point where kids have the ability to still learn in those classrooms, but they don't have the ability to learn when anti-trans are making bomb threats against schools and then threatening to overthrow the government. That's actually happening. There's people making comments on various mainstream media articles calling to overthrow the government. This is serious. There's a lot of anti-trans in Canada, and I've been sharing posts on Facebook and YouTube debunking the anti-trans misinformation that's getting more popular. And not a single person in Canada will help me share it or even it to help the information get out to debunk all the anti-trans that's being fueled. And these people are literally threatening to overthrow the government. And then turn this into a fascist state. Because then the criminals using violence and bomb threats, committing crimes, would then be in power, overthrowing the legally elected government. That's so messed up on so many levels. These anti-trans are making bomb threats. It seems every week I'm hearing about a bomb threat. If it's in the United States or Canada, and it's happening at a more faster rate. So it's increasing and increasing and increasing. This is leading to something Donald Trump and Republicans spreading anti-trans misinformation that ignores everything in nature are literally fueling hate crimes. And Donald Trump and all the Republicans spreading anti-trans misinformation, they're not condemning the violence. They're encouraging it. So you have a lot of far-right extremists that are in Canada too that believe Trump's anti-trans misinformation. They support it. They support each other. And I'm trying to get the truth out, and barely any trans women even support me debunking anti-trans misinformation. It's okay, why are you undermining our rights and everything? There's literally anti-trans making bomb threats against schools. If you think that's acceptable, you are effed up in the head so much. What makes you think you have the right to overthrow a government and use violence and bomb threats against people just because your fascist belief denying trans people exist? These people are constantly misgendering trans women. They act like it's a Marxist woke agenda, but trans is literally found in nature. There's literally species in nature that transition from male to female. You don't see other members of those species making bomb threats and death threats against the people that do transition. So these anti-trans are just totally insane. This needs to be dealt with. Justin Trudeau he doesn't do anything to debunk the anti-trans misinformation. He doesn't even care trans women are struggling to afford their transition because of Justin Trudeau's inflationary causing policies. Like, literally suppressing our own economy and, like, just printing lots of money. It's so stupid. But, like, this needs to be dealt with. Like, seriously, people in Canada, a lot of people in Canada, like, are good people, but there are a lot of corrupt a-holes. And it's like a lot of people that it seems like they're just being my friend because some people say keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. So like clearly people see trans people as the enemy and evil and everything. It's just bullshit misinformation. Like people actually doing evil things, like going against their own Bible just because their belief that they want to deny trans people. They feel the need to rationalize going against their own Bible and using violence and death threats against like people just because they don't agree with them. That's so messed up on so many levels. Like seriously, how is this happening in Canada? What is CBC and all the mainstream media doing? Are they debunking the anti-trans misinformation? Not really. I mean, sure, they'll report about like the bomb threats and everything, but like, do they actually deal with the root of the problem? No, they're not. So like, if you actually think like mainstream media is like on the side of trans people, just look at how mainstream media is not debunking the anti-trans misinformation. They could do a lot more. They're not. They're allowing these anti-trans bigots and misinformation to increase. They don't care. Like, they're literally helping fuel it, too. Like, in some cases. Like, some mainstream media is anti-trans. Fox News, for example, is, like, the biggest anti-trans mainstream media there is. Like, just by the numbers. Every single day, they're spreading anti-trans misinformation. They're dividing and conquering people. And, like, they're literally fueling hate crimes. How is this, like, not an issue? People think it's okay for effed up far-right extremist radical fascists to make bomb threats and death threats and threaten to overthrow the government and system. Those aren't good people. Those are people with evil intentions. I mean, these people are doing it because they actually believe that, like, there's such a thing as gender ideology. There's no such thing as gender ideology. They actually believe trans people are just identifying as whatever we want, but that's not even true. They have no idea. They have no experience with gender dysphoria. They ignore all the experts in science, peer-reviewed studies and everything. They don't care. They just believe their religion, the same religion that led to the rise of fascism and gave rise to Hitler and caused mass genocide. And if you look at actual Marxist countries, communist countries, are opposed to trans rights. So you have to be totally delusional to think that trans is a Marxist agenda when the Marxist agenda is against trans rights. So look who's siding with the Marxists. The far right are claiming to be opposed to the Marxists, but they're using Marxist tactics against trans people. Like, literally, these people are so twisted, they don't know history if you beat them with a book over it. Like, these people are absolutely insane. They're calling to overthrow the government. That's what happens, like, in totalitarian, authoritarian regimes. Like, there's a legal system, and it gets overthrown by a bunch of bigots who then take control and turn it into a fascist or communist state. Just read a history book. Like, these people are delusional. And, like, it's sad, like, all these trans allies, they're not really being good allies. I mean, what are they doing to support trans women like me, debunking the anti-trans misinformation? Almost just look at my videos. You could probably hear the wind. I'm at work, because, like, I'm on my break right now. But, like, I'm at work. I work a job. And, like, while I'm working a job, mainstream media are spreading anti-trans misinformation and not standing up for trans rights. And yet, the far right are so delusional, they actually think that mainstream media is on the side of trans people. But if they were, they would be debunking the anti-trans misinformation instead of just reporting on incidents that happen and ignoring the root cause of the problem, which comes down to education, information. People are misinformed and brainwashed to think that trans people are just identifying as whatever they want. These people don't have any empathy. Just like Nazis, just like the communists who committed genocide, and like the very fact that some of these far-right extremists are saying that like trans people deserve death and are making bomb threats and death threats. Like, these people are utterly evil, and they're doing it because they believe the Bible for the most part, a lot of them. And like, even Hitler believed the Bible. He was a devout Catholic. But like, these religious extremists try and rationalize using evil and violence and going against their own Bible because they feel that they're defending the Bible. Like, they think that they're doing God's work. Like Trump, Ben Shapiro, like all these anti-trans are so evil on so many levels. And like, so many of them are hiding behind religion. Like Ben Shapiro's like a good example. Like, I know a lot of people on my Facebook, like, I'm not actually friends with them, but like, we're added and like, whatever. But like, I see them, like, I haven't seen them in the past year share Ben Shapiro's posts, but I've seen them support it. So like, they're literally supporting anti-trans misinformation and undermining truth to make sure that like people like me don't get my voice heard. So like, in a democracy, in like a fair system, everybody's opinion like matters. Everybody respect each other, that kind of thing. But like, these far-right extremists are trying to turn Canada, not just the US, into a fascist dictatorship, suppressing like information, burning books, banning books. Yeah, they're actually doing that. Like, if you disagree with an opinion, what gives you the right to try and suppress that discussion from happening? In a free system, in an actual democracy, if you disagree with somebody, they still have the freedom to express themselves. But like, these fascists are trying to turn Canada and the US fascist, where there is no freedom of speech. Books are banned, and like, the information's controlled. These people are absolutely sick. They do it under the pretense that they're like, pretext or whatever, that they're supposedly protecting children. But like, they're literally putting children's lives at risk, making bomb threats, death threats. They're literally threatening and putting kids' futures at risk because they're protecting children. No, you're not protecting children when you're making bomb threats at a school with kids. Are you people insane? Seriously, what the fuck? 2 years ago, I actually kind of like, when people would call Trump a fascist, I would say, I don't really see any evidence. Well, things changed after January 6th. Trump really went anti-trans, and I see the patterns. It's literally the same types of patterns you've seen in the rise of Nazi Germany, fueling misinformation and hate against Jewish people. Like, authoritarian, totalitarian, fascist, communist regimes always have to have an enemy that the people have. And the enemy for the far-right extremists are trans people. According to them, we're a threat to society. And they think the threat is big enough where they want to overthrow the government and overthrow the system and turn everything fascist, suppress freedom of speech,